show. It is Friday, July 9th. I'm sorry, I'm a couple of days late, but we're going to work on this market update for the month of June and show you what June was all about. I'm very excited to do this with you. You know, we got a lot of good information. I'm going to stick myself in the corner and show you some things. Here we go. Here's a residential sold. It's single family condo in Bonneville, Bingham, Jefferson, Madison, and Fremont counties. As usual, I'm not going to change anything around for you. I wouldn't do that to you. It would be terrible. 282 down here, 282 properties closed in that amount of time. And remember, we had 310, it was 306, it went up to 310 in May that closed. So here we're looking at June, 282 out of that 310 closed. It's one of the things I wanted to see was exactly how many of those closed. I'll get you to the fun number in just a second for how many came on the market in June 1 through 30. So what we're looking at, days on market average 16. So slightly over 2 weeks is how long it takes for a house to be on the market. Like we say, that number is kind of tricky. You take away your gigantic outliers. It just tends to be your $1 million properties that sit on the market. That one, there's $2 million properties. They sat for an average of 226 days. So 9 months, 10 months almost, 9 months. Not so good with the math. 8. Anyway, I use a calculator. It works. Most things, again, selling under $1 million and doing it relatively quickly. You have a 31 average days on market for the 200 to 250, which is kind of interesting. I don't know what that is exactly. Digging deeper into that would take weeks to really find that number. It would be ridiculous to try and track down exactly which one sat on the market for that long. And you don't want to watch me do that. I'm hardly interesting as it is, but the information is interesting. But why not do that? A good looking month. A lot of closings, and remember, these are closings. So this is when everyone sits down at the title company independently these days. I remember I used to sit down with the sellers as a buyer and reverse that. And they'd hand me a set of keys, or they'd hand my clients a set of keys at the table. I don't know if anyone does that anymore. And I was just like, hey, when can we have the keys? Okay, well, sure. Yep, so 282, most of those sold in 0 to 30 days. So you see that there. Conventional loans, mostly, 162 out of 282. I'm going to math you that real quick because everyone, again, I'm still hearing complaints. I mean, it's not a complaint. It's a frustration. It's a feeling that people have that everyone's coming in, they're outbidding with huge amounts of cash. And I can't make that work. Still, again, we're sitting about 20% of the cash. 20% of purchases are cash. And that means 80% of people are doing it on conventional loans. You're not moving out of state and overspending, racking up the price to make it be $40,000 to $50,000 over on your conventional loan. You're not snaking it away from people. That's not smart spending. Your bank doesn't want you to do that. If you're approved for a certain amount and you can go up to that, yes, you can do that with your conventional loan. But you're not going to see that nearly as much as you are with cash. So again, most of these transactions are people from one side of Idaho moving to another. People from Rexburg moving here to IF. People from IF moving to Rexburg. Take your pick. But for the most part, it's not rotten Californians. They're all nice. I have Californian families. Anyway, show you my favorite thing, and then I'm going to do a little bit different. 424 properties going on the market in June 1 through June 30. Awesome. That's great news. Huzzah. We should all be very happy about that. Median sold price 352, average at 401. Remember, we were only in the 350s 30 days ago when we did this. So we are seeing a good amount go on. It's $113 million worth of property. What was it last time? 87. So we're seeing an increase in our volume. We saw less properties close, and yet worth more money. So these $2 million homes, we're getting stuff going. This is some amazing stuff here. I'm gonna disappear for a sec. No, I'm coming back. I promise. No, I'm not. There I am. So I'm gonna do Bonneville County this week, and I'll go over some of the other counties for May in the coming weeks as we see this, because I don't want to overload you with 20 minutes worth of me talking for no real reason. We got June, our median estimated value ended up at 271. Again, it takes time for your values to reflect, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not quite a percentage point up from the last month, so probably 270 last month, but 12 months, it's still almost 25% increase in the value. I know that this is a frustrating thing for some people, and I understand why. You're seeing prices and values increase at a rate that is not necessarily commensurate with salaries. So some people are definitely feeling and are being priced out of the market in certain areas. If you want to live in an adorable little house in the numbered streets, you can probably still afford that. If you want to live in Ammon, you can probably still afford that. Iona, you can afford that. When you get out of certain neighborhoods, houses are more expensive. 271 is a great median estimated value, and that's because we've got some houses that are obviously lower priced, and we do have some that are higher. 2 properties closed over $1 million. This is nothing to sneeze at, but these weren't all in the center of town. These are outliers. But if our median estimated there is 271, and what do we see on the other one? The average sold price was 400. Okay, that does mean people are being priced out in certain areas, but that depends on what you want. If you want 5 bedrooms, 4 baths on the outskirts of town for $200,000, it's not going to happen. And there's a difference between realistic expectations and what that is. So you watch this graph and you see home prices and home values rather really taking a nice upward momentum. Remember, this is good for the economy. Idaho itself is doing better than the entire country. That's what Idaho does. Southeast Idaho, Idaho itself, we really trend better than the rest of the country. We're not ever used for comparisons. When they tell you how the housing market's doing, they pick New York, parts of California, I think some Michigan spots, Seattle. You pick larger metropolitan areas that aren't necessarily reflective of everywhere in the country, which is why when you watch the news or watch the Today Show, they tell you the housing market's in a very weird place, and it is, but not for the reasons they're necessarily saying. Then again, if you're watching the Today Show, well, you deserve not to have the right news. That's all there is about that. We're seeing median sales price versus volume. Our median sales price, it looked like it took a nice drop down there, but our listing price versus the public data. Public data is going to take a very long time for it to catch up. The volume, trying to figure out what color that actually is here. Sales volume public is listed at 0. I have absolutely no idea why the public records take so long to be updated. I do know here, Idaho is a non-disclosure state. We don't really like to give out that information to anyone, let alone ourselves. Median list price versus listed. We'll see there's nothing really crazy. We've got less houses that are costing a lot. That's all there is to that. We've got a lot of toddlers, adults by age group. Don't need that. I'll see you in a sec. I'm back. Let's hope the internet's okay today. Again, the bulk of Idaho looks like it's sitting at 335,000, well above U.S. average. Bonneville County at 271. Now that is that 25% increase for all of Idaho, with a 8% increase for the U.S. total. List price at $335, $446 for Idaho, $145. I mean, this. You look at these numbers, and that's why it's weird. You do have neighborhoods, counties, states that are largely rural and do not have home values the way that New York City does. $700,000 row home in Baltimore, in New York, versus a $150,000 farmhouse without the land necessarily, or even with it at $300,000. It is not necessarily comparable. So looking at average prices, where also the other chart does not include manufactured housing, and this might. We're seeing good increases. U.S. is increasing 12%. Well, we're at 40% and 37% for the state. We're doing good. I think that's really all there is to it, as you want to know. For permits, don't even bother, because it's permits issued in that amount of time. 1% less permits, but a 14% increase in value for all buildings. It's not really that much of an interesting number to think about for you, because it's all buildings, which means it includes commercial, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's housing, but it says all buildings, so I have no way of knowing what it is. All right, price ranges. See, most things are selling. I love this, because this shows you the public data at its finest, and how Idaho, being a non-disclosure state, we have no idea. There's 5 homes sold according to this. So let's not really take much of that data. It's to get these good percentages up here. This is the housing stats and facts that we want. Look at Madison County, Jefferson County, Bingham County, and Fremont seems to be the other one. We'll look at those in the coming weeks to get you a good understanding of what's going on in our MLS. Sorry, I didn't mean to make that weird face. Okay, so the market's good. I'm unsure exactly of what anyone else needs to hear, but Southeast Idaho is a rockin' place. We got values out the wazoo, and that's generally where they come out. It's looking good. So don't be ashamed of wanting to move to Idaho. Idaho's awesome. Don't let anyone stand in your way of what you want to do with that. So I know this is the part of that where I talk about whatever it is I'm talking about. Been reading. It was good. I'm reading Dune. Not necessarily in anticipation of the movie, but I really wanted a hard sci-fi, and that's like the hard sci-fi outside of anything Asimov. So I've got 6 of those to look forward to by Frank Herbert. I've heard nothing but bad reviews about the others by his son, Kevin Anderson. Not as if Kevin Anderson is bad. Maybe you pair him with someone else and it's not. So, yeah, reading that. We'll see how that goes. Still, Hickman X-Menning to that into Rain Effects. Waiting for that to happen. All in all, having a good time. So I'm very excited that you came today and you're watching this. And I've got family in town, so I'm not exactly strapped to my desk right now. But I'll see you all next week. We'll see how it goes. I hope to see you then. Thanks for coming.